over to you, I guess.
Oh. Evening. How are we doing? I feel like I've spoken to this lot already. I didn't hear what you said about me. Was it all nice? What did you say?
I said you are one of the most successful swimmers the UK has ever produced, with 6 World Championship titles to your name.
That's very, very good.
Yeah.
That's very accurate as well.
Yeah, thank you. I know my facts.
I say no more. I was going to tell you a little bit about myself, my story, in terms of from the beginning, learning to swim, until now, really. I guess for a lot of you, some of you know me better for other things though. Not these lot, they know me as a swimmer. But other people might know me, I don't know if any of you are into Strictly. Some people know me as the winner of 2008 Strictly Come Dancing.
Woo.
You obviously watch it because I didn't win. No, I did Strictly Come Dancing in 2008. Some other people know me as the face of Wellman, the vitamin company. I don't know if you've seen the vitamin adverts, sometimes on the back of buses, sometimes on the tubes. And that was one of the most bizarre scenarios when I was doing the Olympic Games in London and travelling back from the Olympic Village every night, or from the Olympic Park. And this one evening, this guy was sat opposite me and he kept smiling at me, and thought it was a bit weird at the time, but he smiled at me and then went, and my advert was above his head. So some people know better as the face of Wellman, which is a vitamin company. There's other brands available actually, Synatogen, 7Cs, but I promote Wellman vitamins. But I'm here really because of my life in swimming, and it all started at the age of 5 with swimming lessons. And I guess most people in this room can swim. I know you lot at the front can. Can everyone else in the room swim? Yeah, cool, because you should be able to, because it's a valuable life skill. One day it may save your life. But for me, I started because my father at the age of 11 was thrown in the lake, petrified of water, and he's still to this day, he's now 76 and he still can't swim. But he was determined that myself and my sisters would learn for safety reasons and enjoyment reasons. So he used to take us on Sundays and throw us around, and I learned that the water was a fun place to be. And then the serious part started when I went for swimming lessons. And I come from a place called Southend-on-Sea. Anyone from Essex? Awesome. That's where you go, yeah. And we all have a fake tan, right? No. That's the only way as Essex. You might have had one of those people in here before. I don't know, but we don't do fake tan. Anyway, I was from Southend-on-Sea, so I lived by the coast. And so it was obviously paramount that I learned to swim because we were in the sea most of the time over the summer holidays. But the most important person for me, was the right place, right time, and the right person, was a lady called Mrs. Hardcastle, who you won't know, but you can probably Google her. But her daughter was a girl called Sarah Hardcastle. And Sarah Hardcastle at the 84 Olympics won a silver and bronze medal in the 4 and 800 freestyle. At this point when I had my swimming lessons, I was 5 and Sarah was only 7. So we didn't know what Sarah was going to go and do, and I didn't know what I was going to go and achieve. But her mum, Anne Hardcastle, had a sort of keen eye for swimming, as it were. Sarah was already in the team at 7 years of age, swimming up and down in the big pool. And I went for my swimming lessons, much like everybody else. Doggy paddle, one-arm drills, all the various bits and pieces. And I suppose being a sportsman and being competitive, and I think in life we're all competitive. You know, it's one of these things when I know you guys are, because you every time you get training, you're training towards beating Cambridge, right? Yeah, and every time anyone does anything, I always think, at Christmas time at home when people are playing Monopoly, they start wanting to win. We always want to win, we always want to be the best that we can be. And in my swimming lessons, I used to race the other side. And after my swimming lessons, after about half a year, Mrs. Hardcastle said to me, "You're quite good, why don't you go and join the senior squad, or in the big pool." Bearing in mind I was 6 years of age, not the senior squad, just join the swimming club. And in the big pool there was a shallow end up to the deep end, and I just remember there being a white squad, yellow squad, blue squad. There was 7 squads, and the black squad was the big squad. That's where all the fast swimmers were. And I do remember going, those lot are cool, because they were fast, and they were big and they were strong. And I wanted to be like them. But I only swam once a week, and I just remember turning up every session thinking, I've got to do well tonight because I want to get into the yellow lane, and I tried as much as possible, and slowly but surely, and we all progressed, and you know the story, you progress, but it was all these slow steps, and before I knew it, I made the black squad. I was 11 years of age, and there was a big shift. I wasn't the fastest swimmer in the team, the big senior swimmers were way faster than me, but after the 1980 Olympic Games, a guy called Duncan Goodhue, who you probably know or don't know, Duncan Goodhue was Olympic champion in the 100 breaststroke in 1980. It was the first time I saw swimming on TV. And I remember watching it on TV, and then he came along to my club and he did a swim along with Goodhue. And he brought his gold medal and showed it off. And I remember looking at it going, I want one of them. I want to go to the Olympics, I want a gold medal. And like any child does, you want something, you don't realise what it takes to get it. But the bigger thing was he stood on the pool side and he said, how many strokes would it take me to get from here to the other end? And it was 33 1/3 metres. And we all put our hand up and said 15, 20. And he dove in and it took him 3 strokes. It's breaststroke, it's a long stroke, but it was just the fact watching someone that made something look so graceful and effortless and powerful and awesome. And I just remember going, I want to be like him, I want to go to the Olympic Games. And that was a sort of plant of the seed, as it were. And I was only 11. I was the fastest swimmer in the world for my age, for 11-year-olds. And then at 13, 2 years later, I got a scholarship to go to Millfield School. So family couldn't afford to send me there. Got the scholarship, and off I went to Millfield School, and I was surrounded by, I was 13, and there's a lot of senior swimmers there, and there was about a quarter of the national team, swimming team, trained and swam at Millfield School. So when I arrived there, yeah, I was good, I was cocky, I was confident, but there was a lot of people better than me. And my big learn here probably was that I'm one of these people that's very visual, and I just watch people and learn and copy. And by watching these guys and training every day, the way they swam, the way they dove in, I slowly morphed into them, and I slowly got better and faster. And probably the most important thing was I remember watching how they behaved outside the water and how professional they were and what they did. And you learn from people around you, around your peer group. And I now say to people about fly with the eagles, don't peck with the hens. And that's surround yourself with like-minded people. And I didn't choose it. It was luck, chance. 2 years later, at 15 years of age, I became national senior record holder. So 15, I'm 6'6", and I was probably about 6'5" at 15, although I was like that. I like to think that I've filled out a little bit since then. But at 15 years of age, I was national senior record holder. And the story of my career really started at 16, first major international. I've got it here, you can pass it around and have a look if you want. I got my first major international medal at 16 years of age at the Commonwealth Games in 1986 in Edinburgh. Do you want to take that and you can pass it around? And then this one here, which is 2008 World Championships in Manchester. The story of my career really is about never giving up and never stop believing. So between these two, 86, 2008, obviously 22 years. I represented Britain at senior level for 23 years. I won 47 international medals, but I always wanted to win that Olympic gold medal. And that's my kind of story really, the fact that I wanted to go to the Olympics, I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. And that was kind of like reaching or aiming for the stars. That was my big dream. But by aiming that high and dreaming big, I won the World Championships 6 times, European Championships 11 times, Commonwealth Games twice, and I broke the world record 8 times. But I never became Olympic champion. But that, I like to think it doesn't make me a failure. But it never stopped me dreaming. And that's my message for a lot of people is dream big and you never know what's possible. Can you all stand up for me a second? Right, can we do something? Oh, it involves all of you. Okay, I said earlier on, I'm better known for Strictly Come Dancing. So what I'm going to get you to do is you're going to turn to the person. You're a big tall one, aren't you? You're like me. You're like me. You're not in the swim team. You should be. What do you do? Do you row? No. What do you do?
Play volleyball.
Okay, you're not wasting the height then. It's very handy for volleyball as well. But swimming would love to have you. They're like, yeah, we want him. And rowing probably would as well, but anyway. Right, I'm going to get you to do something. I say you know me better for Strictly Come Dancing, so I'm going to get you to turn to the person next to you and you're going to learn how to cha-cha together, okay?
Okay, hang on, let me move the chair.
No, I'm joking. No. You were so up for it. That's what I liked about that. It's all about intentions. You guys are up for it. This gentleman here is going, no way. I'm not dancing with someone I don't know. I can understand that, sir, all right? But no, we're not going to do that. All right, I'm going to get you to hold your breath for me. You guys will know what this is about, but a lot of the others won't. So, right, we're going to get you to do it. Going to say go. Big breath in. You're going to hold your breath, and you're going to let your air out. Okay? Easy. Okay, you let it out. You can let it out for now. You might have started already. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Big breath in. Stop. You nearly went.
It's just so strange watching everybody. I can see it.
Okay. They're looking at me.
Yeah.
Bar the swimmers, because you'll probably get what that was about, hopefully. If not Coach, we need words, wherever she is. Where is Coach? Huh? She's going to play water polo game. How ridiculous. We can video it and show her later. Anyone tell me what that was about? What that was?
It was 50 free.
That was 50 freestyle, yeah. But the learning is, I mean, that's the time it took from obviously the gun going to hitting the other end. And what a lot of people don't understand is when we do 50 free, we don't breathe. Number of reasons for that. Main reason is obviously fill your airy lungs, so you sit on top of the surface of the water a lot better. And also when your head's down and you're not turning to breathe, you keep your rhythm and it's basically faster. And I've won and lost races and broken records by hundreds of seconds. But the bigger picture is, every year I spent 600 hours a year in the water, 300 hours a year in the gym, and 150 hours a year doing cross-training work. So over 1,000 hours a year for 21 seconds. I mean, my event's the blue ribbon event. 50 freestyle is the shortest event there is. But when you think about how much time goes into making something small happen, and for me, I said that Olympic Games, it was sort of once every 4 years. And if it doesn't happen in the heat, the semi or the final, you've got to wait another 4 years. But that's our long-term goal, is it like a 4-year cycle? But then in between times, you've got the Commonwealth Games, European Championships, World Championships. So every year you've got a championships. But that's what I say, it doesn't happen, those 21 seconds. It's a long time for it to happen again. And everything needs to go right. From the gun going off, entering the water, stroke tempo, hitting the other end of the wall. 21 seconds is not a long time, but it is a long time. You can sit down again. I think some of you preferred if we did a bit of cha-cha, probably. Possibly.
I just felt equally self-conscious, so it's fine.
Well, I think another nice thing about that is, and it's interesting you say that, is because I think sometimes that we've got so much going on in here that we don't know how to shut off. And I think sometimes when you focus on that and you're just not breathing and you're concentrating on your breath really, but you sort of slow everything down and you sort of become in the moment.
Yeah, I think the students at this university, that's quite a
There's a lot of
point.
stuff going on.
Yeah.
Well, you've got very, very good brains, so I understand there's a lot going on up there. That's one thing that athletes do very, very well. Top athletes is, I'm going to say we're a little bit simple sometimes, but we switch it off. And in that moment, you need to switch it off because it's one of these things that you practice it so many times and people talk about being in the zone. And it's about sort of being in the now and being in the moment, is because you've done it so many times. You don't have to think. When you try and make things happen, that's when you tense up. And when you're trying to make things happen, you're thinking about making things happen, that wastes time as opposed to just letting things happen. But I think it's quite nice sometimes thinking about that, I don't know, when there's so much going on, just sit and breathe for a few seconds. Sit and hold your breath for 21 seconds. Not thought about that before. It'll make you think. I was going to show you a video. Have you got a video? Have you got a video? Have we got a screen somewhere? I was going to show you this video, all right? This is to do with... Not yet. Not yet. You guys, some of you never seen me swim before, I'm sure. And this is of a race in 2004 in Indianapolis in America. And basically I went to 5 Olympics, which was 88 Seoul, 92 Barcelona, 96 Atlanta, 2000 Sydney. I missed 2004 in Athens, and I came back in 2008 for Beijing. And throughout my career, there was lots of highs and lots of lows. I think one thing that sport's very, very good at teaching you is it constantly moves on, and you can't sit still, you have to move with it. And I think sport's very good at teaching people about change, because you have to change. You have to try different things, you have to take yourself out of your comfort zone, because otherwise you don't progress. That's one of the good things. But my big learn around this in 2004 was, I won a silver medal at the World Championships in 2003 in Barcelona. I was probably in the best shape of my life, truly believing that I'd go into the Olympic Games, believing I could win, believing I could come away with something. And in February, which was about 6 weeks before our Olympic trials, I was in the gym and I was doing conditioning work, and I was 33 years of age, which, as you know, as swimming's getting older. But I was in the best shape of my life, breaking world records and doing my best times. And I was in the gym doing conditioning work, and I heard a rip noise, this ripping noise, like a t-shirt ripping. And I was on the floor doing this thing called an ab roller. And I thought, what's that? And I remember thinking I've ripped a t-shirt. Anyway, my coach at the time was a guy called Colin Jackson, which a lot of people think is weird because Colin can't exactly swim very, very well. But he was my coach at the time. We were doing all the conditioning work together. And he said, look, go home, rest, then come back this afternoon. And I went off, and I came back in the afternoon and dove into the water, and I literally couldn't put my arms above my head. I couldn't put any pressure on the water here. I ripped all the muscles that connect your tricep into your lats underneath here. So it was 6 weeks before the Olympic trials, and I said to our performance director, I said, I've got a problem. I've injured myself. I might talk about this a little bit more later if I don't get emotional. He was Australian, and we didn't get on very well. And he said, you either turn up at the trials and you do your qualifying time or you don't go. And I didn't want to be defeatist, So I literally for 4 weeks could only kick my arms by my side, but I did all my rehab work. And I tried to rehab as much as possible, had physio, had treatments, in ultrasound, everything else, to try and get myself right. For the last week, I span my arms over a little bit more. And if you know sport, you want to teach your body to do what you're going to ask it to do. And I couldn't really swim. But I went to the trials and I stood on the block, and my qualifying time for the 50 freestyle was 22.45 seconds. And I swam 22.48 seconds. I missed it by 300ths. I won the race by nearly a second. I was 5th fastest in the world on that time. And the performance director, he didn't like me. He said, "I'm sorry you don't go." And I remember that was the lowest point in my career. And I remember sitting back thinking, "Oh, this is the end of it." It was before the Olympic Games, 2004. I'm 34 years of age, or nearly 34. I'm thinking, well, where do I go from here? And I just thought, well, and you had this experience, and I didn't want it to be the end of my dream and end of my story. So I thought, well, 6 months after the trials, 6 months after the Olympics, we had the World Championships in Indianapolis. It was a short course World Championships, and I just thought, well, we'll refocus. Let's make that your goal now. The team went off to the Olympic Games. I commentated from home. I did the newspaper reports and other bits and pieces. But I did all my rehab at the same time to put myself in the right place to make the team for the World Championships and potentially, hopefully, do something. So I kind of looked at having an experience, and we all have experience. You have big experiences and small experiences. You have them every day of the week. Some of them tiny and some of them very, very big. And sometimes you react. You have an experience and you react. That's your reaction, E+R. And then there's an outcome to it. And sometimes you wish you hadn't had that reaction. And I kind of took time and thought, well, what do I want my outcome to be? So I think about if something happens to you, think what you want the outcome to be and then respond accordingly. So this had happened to me. There's nothing I could do about it. I thought when I go to the World Championships, that's my outcome. So I responded by getting back in the water, training harder, getting stronger, getting fitter. So I wanted to prove to friends and family and people that supported me over the years that they backed the right person. I wanted to prove to the other guys in the race that I still had it. I wanted to prove to myself that I could still do this and I could continue. And probably the most important thing, whatever your motivation is, I wanted to prove to the performance director, the Australian performance director, that you got it wrong. Things happen to you every day, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change experiences that happen to you, but you can change what the outcome might be and the way that you react to it. And that was a big learning for me. And I think it's one of these things with sport. I say you have to learn, you have to move on quickly, but there's learning and there's learning. And I think there was no such thing, I didn't think with racing, and I know a lot of people, we do take things personally, but there was no such thing as failure. Because from every race, I learned something. And in terms of I never really failed, I didn't fail at something, I learned something. So I think it's just constantly every session I did, every race I had. And I learned more from the times that I lost. Because when you lose, you look at things and you dissect it a little bit more. When you're on a crest of a wave, it's sort of, oh, I won that one, let's move on. So I learned an awful lot more from the times that I didn't win. What's quite interesting about that race was that it was also in where the Indianapolis Pacers play basketball. There was 15,000 Americans in there. But basically what they've started doing now with the pools is they've started building them into stadiums. Because obviously we don't have like football stadiums, we don't have swimming stadiums. So they built a pool into that where the Indianapolis Pacers play. And it's like a temporary pool. But what's quite interesting, people always ask me about, what happens before you come on poolside. Because like you see everybody on the field of play if you like, but beforehand we go to what's called a call room. And you have to be at the call room 15 minutes before your race. So that's just for TV, so they know that the next race is going to be there and getting ready to go upstairs. So 15 minutes before you go down to the call room before your race, and you've got the people you're going to race against, and you've got chairs in the call room, lane 1 to lane 8, depending what lane you're in, you're obviously sat in your chair. And in front of us there used to be a sort of a little area like this with a mat on it. Most of the time I had a mat there, so you could sit down and stretch and do your stuff. And I used to get, and I think a lot of people are pretty similar, when you get nervous, some people yawn a lot and get tired. That's me. Some people want to pee a lot. Some people want to go to the toilet when they get nervous. Some people, and it's another thing, I get chatty. So if I get nervous, I chat a lot. It's just quite handy now. But one of the things that I realised is a lot of the people are sort of focusing on the race. And for me, it was kind of a nice distraction. I knew what I was going to go and do, and I wanted to make myself relax before I went upstairs and did it. So I used to tap some of the people I was racing against on the leg and start asking them about what the weather in Russia is like. What music they're listening to, and I found that it's one of these things when you get up behind the block and it's sort of you, the water and the wall, there's nothing you can do when you get up there. You can't sort of swim in and start pulling people, which would be kind of interesting. It'll make swimming a lot more interesting. So it's just you watering the wall. So beforehand, before you go up to the pool side and to the field of play, that was the opportunity I got to wind up my competitors. I say wind them up, there wasn't exactly any fights downstairs, but I would sort of relax myself by winding other people up. There's lots I could talk to you about, but I sort of really wanted to hear more about from you guys. Ended my swimming career happened in 2008, which was Beijing Olympic Games. Did anyone watch the Beijing Olympics? Anyone see the Beijing Olympics? Did anyone watch the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympics? Did anyone see me carrying a flag? Awesome! No, I was very, very fortunate. It was my 5th Olympic Games. I was 38 years of age. I was coming towards the end of my swimming career. That was going to be my last Olympics. And the night before, or the day before the opening ceremony, we decided who was going to carry the flag around the opening ceremony. And basically the team nominate a flag bearer, each team. So I was obviously swimming captain because I was old enough to be the rest of the team's dad, probably granddad. I was 38 and a lot of them were 16, 18, 20 years of age. 5th Olympics, I was the most established. So I've been the team captain of the swim team for a number of years. So I was our team captain, and other people like Jamie Murray, he was doing tennis, Tom Daly, diving. So every team nominated someone. There was a short list of 7 people, and it went back to the team members. There's 500 members of Team GB, all the athletes, and they obviously voted. It's a little bit like the election last night, actually. Apart from the outcome was good. Everyone nominated who they wanted to be flag bearer, and then the night before the opening ceremony, went to the Chinese ambassador's residence in Beijing, and all the dignitaries are there, all the athletes are there, all the coaches are there. And Princess Anne, who was head of the Olympic movement, she came up to the lectern and said who was going to be our GB flag bearer. And I remember standing there, and I was incredibly nervous. My heart was pounding because I really, really, really wanted to be flag bearer. I realised 5th Olympic Games probably be the last opportunity I ever get to do this. And I remember standing there getting really, really nervous, and Princess Anne came up to the lectern and she started her speech about who was going to be the flag bearer. And I kind of go back to when I was like 10 years of age. I'm really competitive. And she started off by saying, I'm competitive, I'm not sexist by the way, but one of the people on the list out of 7 was a woman. And she said, he, and I just remember going, that's 6 of us left in this race. And then she said, has dedicated his career. Tom Daly was like 14. He hadn't had a career, so there was like 5 of us left in the race, and then she carried on and so on and so forth. And I just remember realising it was me, and I got dragged off and did interviews, and it was an amazing feeling. It was a humble feeling, walking into the Olympic Stadium, which was the bird's nest, 85,000 people screaming and shouting, and flashbulbs going. They were screaming and shouting for the Chinese and not us, but I pretended it was us. And it took me 15 minutes to walk around and kept pinching my finger, going, this moment will never happen again, make this last forever. And I did. It was just absolutely phenomenal. And those Olympic Games were marked by Chris Hoy winning his 3 Olympic gold medals and Rebecca Addington winning her 2 Olympic medals, and they owe those medals to me. I feel I got my medals that night, because basically that flag was really heavy. I took one for the team that night. It's all about being a team player. So that was the end of my swimming career, and then Strictly Come Dancing started, and everything else continued from there. But I want to hear more from you guys if you've got questions, rather than me blurting on about what I want to tell you. Oh, actually, I forgot. Here's that gold medal from the World Championships. So if you want to pass it around and have a look, that's kind of my Olympic gold medal, really. Cheers. So that was that.
Well, I'll start with a question if that's okay.
Cool.
Just what you were saying about role models and growing up and seeing Duncan Goodhue at the local swimming centre. Mm-hmm. And this summer, I think the main thing that stuck out to me is the scandal surrounding Ryan Lochte, and how being in a position of influence, but maybe in one that he wasn't aware about. What are your thoughts on that, and how do sports people, because you're not a celebrity in the same way as a musician or an actor, how do you deal with suddenly becoming like in the public eye?
I didn't do what he did. Yeah. And he's a very naughty boy. And I think you might see him on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I don't know that, by the way. That's not fact. I just made that up. But no, I think your responsibility as a sportsman, I believe, is that you do become a role model. That's not saying that people don't do the odd silly thing, because people do. I guess when you're in that position, if you then get in trouble or you're disgraced for it, then you have to own it. Yeah. And I think and I don't know the full story, and if he is on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, I'm sure they're asking. my take on it is the fact that he made up something to his mum, and that evening the four of them had got a little bit drunk and been stupid, and he made something up, and I don't know why, and it just became a story. Yeah. And if he'd have never said what he said, then he would not have been in the position he was. Yeah. So I just think it was one of those lies that became bigger than itself. So, and we've all had a night out where you might have put a traffic cone on top of a statue or something, I don't know, something random. And he did something random, and it just became a huge crisis, which was a bit stupid saying what he said. Yeah.
So as a sportsman, was there a point at which you kind of realised, oh wait, now I'm in the public eye, now people care about what I'm doing?
No, I don't. Listen, when I was younger, I was naughty. I was misunderstood. And it was part of growing up. And I say naughty, I didn't do naughty, but I think you grow up. I think you learn, you grow up. And I think sport has changed an awful lot. When I got into sport when I was talking when I first made the national team when I was 15, it was 1985. And sport was completely amateur. Sport didn't really become professional, and football's probably a little bit different. But I know I trained in Bath, at Bath University, and I used to hang out a lot with the rugby players. And overnight in 1996, rugby became professional. And I used to see how the guys trained before and their social life outside of rugby overnight changed into professional athletes. And in swimming terms, the lottery, the national lottery, do you play the lottery? If you do, thank you. No, but when you do the lottery, a certain part of that money goes into sports, arts, all the rest of it. And sport gets some of that money from UK Sport and Camelot. And that money then given to athletes, and all of a sudden, overnight, it becomes your job. But that wasn't until I was 27. So up until that point, I kind of had to make ends meet. One of the things I didn't say is after my first Olympics in 88, because swimming was completely amateur, I worked as a career driver, fitted double glazing windows, worked as a lifeguard. I was the fastest lifeguard in the world. I worked as a lifeguard, groundsman, worked on building sites, lifting plasterboards around and other bits and pieces. I had to work part-time to make ends meet to pursue my career and my love. And then overnight, when you're 27, it became a professional, and all of a sudden when you get a wage, you then all of a sudden you become accountable.
And now we've got a generation of athletes who have never had that experience then of having to make ends meet. True,
absolutely. They're kind of, I always say it's hard for me to say they're softer, but in terms of, I think when you've had things hard, you appreciate when it gets easier, and they've never seen the flip side and the other side. One of the things sport's always swimming's up against always is, you always see in the papers about football and how wonderful and how easy, what footballers earn, and the people associate sport as that, and swimming's not that. Yeah. I mean, I got into sport because I loved it, I'm passionate about it, and I had a dream. Would I have gotten it if I thought... To be fair, now I do what I do in the place I get invited to now, that it's the perks I get from the back of it have been very, very good. But I remember I didn't do that at the time, I did it because I loved it. I didn't know where it was going to lead to. I just knew that after 18 years of age doing various jobs, that when I did retire, I think sportsmen like being active. I must admit, I worked in the council office. There's nothing against any council, by the way. I worked in the council office sitting at a desk, and I kind of kept looking at the clock. But I'm one of these kids that, and I've probably got ADHD, I don't know, I can't sit, I have to do. So I mean, that was a big learn for me when I was a kid as well. But yeah, no, things have changed an awful lot now, and the reason why we do better in the Olympic Games is because sport has become a lot more professional. And that's the reason why we win a lot more medals. Yeah. Cool, well I think we'll throw it open to the audience now. So if you have a question for Mark, please raise your hand in the air. Wait for Juliet to bring the microphone around. The microphone won't amplify your voice, it's just for recording. So if you have any questions, I'm sure if we go to the right at the back. Go on, don't be shy.
I can see your hands, it's okay. If you stand up so we can see you as well.
Did you ever want to quit?
Did I ever want to quit? Every day? No. I remember when I was like 11, 13 years of age, going training every morning, getting in the pool used to get in the pool at 5:30 and get out at 8. So 2.5 hours every morning, Monday to Friday. I do Monday night, Friday night, 2 sessions on a Sunday, do 12 till 2, 5:30 till 7. Do a lunchtime Saturday session, 12:30 till 2. That was when I was sort of 11, 12 years of age, 13 years of age. I used to do a lot of ploughing up and down the pool. And in that time, you get a lot of time to think. I thought about what I wanted to achieve and where I wanted to go, but at the same time, sometimes it's hard. And were there mornings when I arrived at training and I fell asleep in the change room? Yeah. But I just always knew when it came to a competition and stand on the block at the weekend that I wanted to win, and that to put myself in that position, I had to train really hard. But did I sometimes wish I did something else? I always wanted to be an airline pilot as a kid. I realised I was too big for the cockpit. No. But no, yeah, there was tough times. I think I got when I was playing football. When I was a kid, I played every sport. I played county basketball, played a lot of football, played a lot of cricket. I was kind of athletics. I did everything. I was very good at every sport. I got a stud in my leg when I was 11 years of age. I had a hole in my leg, which my mum made me go swimming the next day. Oh yeah, my mum was a taskmaster. Getting that on tape. But she was a sort of motivation, driving force behind me. But there were days when I didn't want to get out of bed. There was days I went to sleep at night thinking, Mum, don't wake me up in the morning. I just want to lie in. And going to Millfield School when I was there when I was 13 years of age, I was in a dorm with 6 people and none of them were swimmers. And I used to get up at 5:30 in the morning and they'd all be asleep and I'd go training. But I had all my mates and it was a social life. So that was a nice thing, the peer group. And like I said, flying with the eagles, not pecking with the hens. I had all my mates. So I didn't see it as a hardship, but at the same time, getting out of bed and they're all asleep, I used to go, oh, can't I play rugby or something? But I was good at swimming, and that was my love and my passion. So yeah, I had those moments that I wanted to quit. But I think when it became my job, which was probably 21 years of age, I got a first ever sponsor, which was Speedo, and it became my job. And then the lottery came in when I was 26. Then I just thought, how lucky am I that my love and my passion is my job, and how many people can say that they really, really, really love their job. But I realised along the way that I knew at some point that life was going to end and it was going to start, a new career would start. So that's why I thought I was so fortunate and I wanted it to last forever. That's why I retired at 38 and I truly believed I could have gone till 2012, till 42, but I had to retire at some point and that seemed to be the right time. But yeah, there were lots of times when I thought, my hair smells. Swimmers know that, chlorine. But no, I loved it. So I didn't get the urge very often to retire.
Brilliant, thank you so much for your question. Do we have any more? If we go at the front here.
Hello, I'm Victoria and I've actually just moved from Australia about a month ago and I'm in the swim team.
Good day.
I'd be really interested to hear about your career plans at the moment and also into the future. Being an Australian swimmer, I actually was with Grant Hackett the day before the incident that probably made it to the papers here.
What, the casino incident? Is that the one?
Yeah. Yeah, and I, knowing a number of Olympic swimmers from Australia, I find it really fascinating what happens when they finally hang up their goggles. And obviously, for lots of swimmers, that's a very different pathway and different route, and depending on how successful you've been. And yeah, obviously, it's quite difficult for a number of swimmers.
I think it's the same with sport across the board, really, in terms of depending what sport you're in. Obviously, footballers can retire, but they still need to do something with their time. They retire with a lot of money, but then what do? And everyone needs a sort of purpose. But in terms of with minority sport, once you do retire, then you do need a second career. So that's why a lot of people along the way, with rowing, Oxford and Cambridge, they've got a degree, they've got something else to fall back on. Some of them do part-time jobs along the way. I know people that sort of worked in Bank of England and other bits and pieces while they're still competing. Now it's always interesting. I kind of even wake up now and think, what do I want to do with, I would say, the rest of my life? But at the same time, it's deciding. I'm fortunate. I do a lot of things. I wouldn't say I do one thing now. I do motivational speaking, host events, awards. That's day-to-day work, as it were. I'm very passionate about getting people involved in sport. I'm very passionate about getting people fit and healthy. So I've got a swim academy, which I do a couple of weeks a year, which is taking kids from 11 to 18 years of age and making them enjoy the sport, but through stories and through teachings and learnings about skills, try to make them better swimmers. That's what I know, and that's my passion. And I think ultimately everybody in life should get the opportunity to swim because it's a life skill. And then through my wanting to get people fit and healthy, I created a business called Fit Steps, which is, you've heard of Zumba, right? So kind of, have some of you done Zumba? The guys probably won't have done that. Anyway, it's a dance fitness program. So after doing Strictly Come Dancing in 2008, I got to meet a lot of the guys, and I did the tour in 2012, and I danced with a lady called Natalie Lowe, who's dancing this year with Greg Rutherford. She's become a really, really good friend of mine, and her professional dance partner is a guy called Ian Waite. And I just remember thinking, I want to get people fit and healthy, and it was going to be through what I used to do as a swimmer, not in the pool, but outside of the pool, land and conditioning work and circuits. And I had this idea. Nowadays, it's called Insanity Workout Boot Camps and all these other bits and pieces, but I was going to repackage it. And I thought, from doing Strictly and how popular the show is, how big Zumba is, I just thought, well, hang on, I know these guys, and why don't we put a dance program together? So using the 12 Latin and ballroom dances from Strictly Come Dancing, what you see on Strictly Come Dancing, we created a dance program. We've got DVDs, apparel, but ultimately it's about getting people fit and healthy. And some people, I realise, don't like swimming, they don't like running, they don't like lifting weights, they like dancing. So we created this fitness program called Fit Steps. We've got over about 2,000 trainers across the UK that teach Fit Steps. Now we've got a thing called Fit Steps Life, which you can download and you can do at home. But there's some of the, I've generally found that sometimes out of experiences, opportunity comes. And from doing Strictly Come Dancing and meeting these guys, an opportunity came up, and I kind of throw myself into it and hopefully make it a success and make it work. And I think one of the things people always say to me about anything in life is if you commit to something, you don't know who knows what's possible. So we kind of committed to it. We've been going for 3 years now, and it's been very successful. So that's one of the things I do. But I do lots of brand ambassador for. There's any tall people in the room? I'm brand ambassador for a range of clothing called T for Tall with Ted Baker. So I create a range of clothing which is longer legs, longer arms, longer body. Good mates with Ted Baker for about 15 years. So we create a range of clothing with him. So there's lots of opportunities out there, and I just sort of throw myself in and see what happens, really. I'm not afraid of trying new things and trying new challenges.
I just want to pick on something you said then about what to do after sport. Sport as a career must be really risky. You could get injured at any point and not be able to pursue your career. Do you have a backup plan? Is that something that's in the back of your mind?
I didn't, and I think it was always. I think when you're doing something and you're committed to it, the sensible thing might have been to have a backup plan. But when you're so focused on something, you're not thinking of kind of what might happen if. It's sort of, well, if that happens, I'll deal with it when it happens. It's a bit like, being injured. You try and do everything to stop preventing an injury and trying to improve your performance. If something happens and that curveball's thrown, you have to deal with it. But at the time it was, no, this is what I do, and until I finish doing what I do, then I'll look at other things. But I was fortunate that being friends with Ted Baker's name's not Ted Baker, by the way, but being friends with him, that opened up an opportunity, and doing Strictly Come Dancing opened up an opportunity. If I hadn't done that, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Cool. More audience questions then. If we go sort of right at the back, yeah.
Do you have any regrets to your career? Like, do you wish you'd gone to London 2012 or done anything? Obviously, you shouldn't do, but do you?
I have lots of regrets. No, there's a few. Actually, I remember sitting with Claire Balding on poolside in 2012, and she was going, "Do you miss it? Do you miss it?" And I remember looking at the poolside going, and I kind of got to the point where I didn't, and I knew that I'd obviously made the right decision. And also, it's difficult trying to move away from something that you've done for so long and you love. The time I did miss it was when the 50 freestyle walked out, and I remember going, I could be down there. I might not have made the final, but in my head I was going, I could have been down there. And she sort of said to me, look, in her experience was I know she didn't go to the Olympic Games, but the next best thing to doing it is talking about it. And I suddenly went, yeah, I like this. I like sitting here talking about it, and I'm passionate about it. So I like trying to make other people passionate about the sport. Throughout my career, there was sliding door moments, and 1988, after the first Olympic Games, I got a recruiting trip to ASU, Arizona State University, with a view to going there on a swimming scholarship. And I remember going over there for the weekend, and they show you a wonderful time because they want you to go to the university. And I had a great time. You're not allowed to swim with a team because that's against university rules. I don't know if you have the same thing over here. But it was a wonderful place. The weather was great. The facilities are just mind-blowing. Like every university in America is like what we have performance centres over here. There was a reason why America is so good at swimming and athletics is they have these centres in every university. And my kind of one regret, not now, because I look back now and I go, I wouldn't change anything, but I do suddenly go, I wonder what might have been had I gone to American University in 88, 92, 4 years later in Barcelona, would it have been a different story, would have won that Olympic gold one? I don't know. I'll never know. 2004, not going to the Olympic Games, would I have won it? I don't know. I'll never know. But And I wouldn't change anything, but that's one of the ones I kind of go, I wonder what might have happened. Because in American universities in the States, they've got the best coaches in the world, best facilities in the world, and the best talent in the world. When you train day in and day out, what you want in the sport is you want to be constantly pushed, and you want people around you who are better than you. And I think that's the same in business. You've got people better than me, you learn from them, and they make you look good as well. But every training session becomes a race, and then that pushes you. And that's when I got the best gains, when I trained with the best people in the world. So that would be one regret.
Thank you so much for your question. If we come to, the glasses. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. I guess every Championships and Olympics is remarkable for many reasons. 2016 sticks out because of, say, Adam Peaty just being extraordinary in the pool, Van Niekerk smashing Michael Johnson's seemingly unbreakable record on the track. How fast do you think the 50-metre freestyle can go in years to come? Will it break the 20 seconds and things like that?
Good question. I don't know where it ends. I think sport always progresses, and I think we always find ways to go faster. I'm pleased that we don't have bodysuits anymore, because not only is it costly for swimmers, it's more about the athlete than it is about the suit. How fast can the sport go? I don't know. I think it will constantly progress. The thing we've got with swimming is there's so many variables in terms of, on the track you see one foot in front of the other, and athletes are still getting faster and tracks are getting faster, but in the pool it's the way the hand goes underneath the water and how much water you catch and how much you pull yourself through the water, and strength and conditioning work and nutrition is playing a huge part, and sports science is playing a huge part as well. But I think people will find ways to go faster. I truly believe, I think, and it will be possible, someone will do it, that freestyle eventually will be someone doing butterfly legs and freestyle arms. And as you know, fly kick and underwater fly kick's incredibly quick. And I think when someone masters that, that might be something for you guys for February when you race Cambridge. But if you can master it, and it's different, I've played around with it, I haven't got the greatest fly kick in the world, but someone like Michael Phelps, or actually Michael Klim, Australian swimmer, he was a 100 fly swimmer, and at the end of his last 5 metres of his race, to get him into the wall, he used to do fly kick and freestyle arms. But I mean, he said he couldn't maintain it for 100 metres. And I think that will progress the sport. Someone will change something, someone will find something that's a little bit different. I don't know how fast it will go. Yeah, it might be under 20 seconds at one point in some time. Do you know what the world record is now? 26? No, I don't know what the world record is, so I was just asking you. Well, the Olympics was run in 21.3. I actually think the world record was 21.1 something, but so under 21 will be the first bar, and then 20 short course, and then to go under 21 long course will be pretty big. So kind of exciting. But yeah, and that's the exciting thing. People always look at tiny ways to go faster, as long as they're legal. That is. I can't remember the other side of the question you said.
Just because every Olympic surprises with records that are broken that you just not expect.
I'd say with actually this Olympic Games, and you will see him for the next 8 years, and he probably won't win sports personality, because listen, I love Andy Murray. I think Andy Murray might win it, or Jason Kenny might win it, but Adam Peaty, to me, it is unbelievable. And it's sort of, to have someone in this country that is that much better than everybody else in the world is just mind-blowing. I mean, to break the world record over the last 3 years by a second in an event that's 60 seconds long is just incredible. He doesn't need to get any faster, and he will win the next Olympic Games, next World Championships, next Commonwealth Games for the next 8 years until he decides to retire, because he is just that good. And I think we should celebrate that.
Cool. So just drawing on what you were saying then about like bodysuits and I guess equality in a sense, I feel like Rio especially was kind of tarnished with doping scandals with Russia and all those kind of things. How do you think those kind of issues should be tackled?
Well, first of all, there should be lifetime ban in terms of what if you cheat and you're out. And I think until they've got that in place and people realise that if they cheat, that's the consequences. And that's the way it should be. And I think every athlete agrees with me that until we get to that point, the sport won't be cleaned up. The testing procedures need to get better. I think they are better, but they need to get better again. And there's always this grey area, I know, with I'm going to call it TUEs, I don't really call it, but exemptions to do with asthma and other bits and pieces. I mean, historically, swimmers get asthma because, do you know what? You spend 20 hours in a week in a pool that's chlorinated and got chlorine poisoning, so you're going to get a bad chest. So they just need to, ultimately you get into sport because you think it's a level playing field and you think it's about the person that's the fastest, and you like to think that is going to be what it is, who's going to be the best person on the day. And you like to think that if you're doing it honest, everyone else is doing it honest. But until they get to the point, I've done blood testing, they tried to bring it in and then they went to do with the human equality, human rights or something, you can't be blood tested, which I don't understand. But until they make it, I think the thing is if you sign up to be an athlete, you should do whatever needs to be done to clean the sport up. But they need lifetime bans. And every sport is slightly different. I mean, I think swimming's been quite lucky in the past that I don't think, and call me naive, and there's not been since the Eastern European regimes back in the late 80s and China in mid-90s, there hasn't been a lot. Yeah. He naively says that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Cool. We think we've got time for a couple more questions. So there's a hand right at the back.
What do you think's more important in sporting success, like raw talent or working hard?
A bit of both. I think talent alone won't be enough. I know. Not just, I've seen a lot of people over the years that have been, I would say, more talented than me, but they weren't willing to work at it. And I think that's quite interesting. That sort of like, I always think with people, if you can sort of look in a mirror and say, regardless of what your talent is, you can be the best that you can be, and you can look in the mirror and go, I did everything possible, rather than I didn't fail because I didn't try. But no, talent and hard work will obviously beat talent alone. Someone that's not so talented and works hard will beat someone that is talented if they don't work hard enough. You can look at Michael Phelps and say, if he hadn't worked hard, would he still be the best in the world? No. But physiologically, he is half fish. I mean that with the greatest respect. He's sort of 3/5 upper body, 2/5 legs. His legs are quite short, and when he does an underwater fly kick, it's so compact. His lower body is so compact and so powerful that makes his kick so special. So I think you see it within sport in general. You see someone that is just built to do that sport. And if you look at the Olympic Village and you spend time in the Olympic Village, you walk around and it's kind of looking at it's kind of a game. You go, that one does gymnastics, that's a power lifter, that one's a volleyball player. You sort of go around and you can see what people do. I mean, I remember being in the village and there were women that were really skinny and they were 6'8". I'm not used to women being taller than me, and you're like, wow, it's like just giants, there's extremes. So, but then those people, once you've got that physique and you specifically teach them to do something, you become really, really good at it. So, but in professional sport, that's what sports people do. They teach the body to do. I think about, if you think about a skyscraper, the people at the top of that skyscraper they show what's possible with the human body in sport. But I've always maintained that the most important bit is the foundations of the skyscraper, which are the people that get the health and social benefits that go with sport. But talent and hard work will beat talent on its own.
Wonderful, thank you for your question. Do we have any more? Yep, if we go here. Sorry, making your around, Juliet.
Hi.
Hello.
So on the topic of dealing with failure, I don't know if you remember the 4x100 freestyle relay at Beijing where America beat their favourites, France.
Yeah.
If you're the French team coach, what do you say to them after that relay?
They got it all wrong. Actually, to be fair, they didn't get it all wrong at all. I don't know if anyone saw that relay, and it was amazing in terms of France, on paper, were the better team and should have won. And in the race it was a 4x100 freestyle relay, and after the third leg, France were, I want to say, virtually half a second in the lead. They were in the lead, a tiny bit in the lead. Anyway, the guy that went in for France at the end was a guy called Alain Bernard, who actually 4 days later won the 100 freestyle individual race. And he was against a guy called Jason Lezak, who was in that race there, and he was a training partner of mine. And it was all about arrogance and ego. And basically, and what you're taught, and Alain Bernard swims in France, is a great swimmer, but he knows he's great. And he, technically within swimming, what you want to try and do is, especially in the relay, if you're ahead, you don't want to swim on the lane rope because you can basically get a draft. If you sit on the lane, if the other person sits on the lane rope, they kind of get on your wave. We create a bow wave. And if you sit on that bow wave, it becomes very, very easy to swim. And Lizak just sat on that bow wave. Not easy, but you could switch the engines off a little bit. And he sat on the bow wave down the first length. If Alan Bernard would have simply have swum over here, they'd have won the race, because he wouldn't have got close to him. But he sat here, and Jason sat here, and he sat here and sat here, and on the way back, he sat on the wave again on the way back. And the last 25 metres, Alan Bernard started tiring, and Lizak, who hadn't put that much effort into that point, he put effort in obviously, but still had a left because he'd surfed, what we call it surfing, and he just came back and pipped him at the end. So if I were the French coach, I'd have been a little bit like annoyed. But also the other thing is when you train in America, the collegiate system, the NCAA's is the most competitive swimming event in the world, and those guys are so competitive and they get every detail right. And the first learning in America is, from relays, do not sit on the lane line. You get over the other side of the pool so people can't draft off you. And so Lizak would have gone, I'm going to go and sit on that lane rope because I know where the wave is. And if Bernard would have gone over there, that would have been over. So that was just a big mistake and a bad learning. But hey.
Do you have maybe one more final question?
But then if that hadn't have happened, Michael Phelps wouldn't have won 8 gold medals and the story wouldn't have happened. So history wouldn't have been made. So I'm pleased that Alan Bernard sat on the lane rope.
Well, speaking of medals, I think we have a few floating around. If they can get returned to the front, if you just want to bring them up. Just because I don't want people like...
Yeah, I'm a really fast runner. I've actually lost these medals once before. I actually had a rucksack very similar to this. And it's got interesting things in the rucksack. It's got old swimming suits, bodysuits and other bits. And actually, this is actually what I carried... When I did the opening ceremony in the Beijing Olympic Games, that was our sort of opening ceremony blazer. Do you reckon that would get me in some of the pubs in Oxford? That was the Olympic blazer for the opening ceremony, and I actually used to leave it in the back of the car because if I went to do talks, then I knew that my medals were there and I knew my stuff was there. And I got the house broken into, and I remember woke up when they were in the house and they ran out. They actually jumped through the window and went out, not through the glass by the way. It was a sash window, it was open, and they got into the car and I saw them drive off in the car, and I remember going, "Oh, my car's gone." And I was obviously gutted my car's gone, but it was only the next day I suddenly went, oh no, my bag went, and these medals actually got nicked. And these aren't the original medals. They are original medals, but they're not my original medals. So it's quite an interesting story with this one. 1986 Commonwealth Games, so that was quite a long time ago, and this happened in 2009, so it's 23 years later. And I was doing a talk in Middlesbrough for a housing association, and I was chatting away to these people, and I just said to them during the talk, I said, I'm sorry, I haven't got my medals because I got them nicked. And at the end of the talk, this guy came up to me and he said, I was in Edinburgh at the Commonwealth Games, and I said, did you enjoy it? What were you doing, spectator? And he goes, no, I was a security guard. And at the end of the Commonwealth Games, they gave him and 2 other security guards a medal as a souvenir. And he said, I have got a bronze medal in my cabinet at home in a box as a souvenir from the Commonwealth Games. And I said, I'll send it down to you. So he sent that down. He said, I've had many drinks out on this. So he sent that down, and I sent him up my 2008 Olympic Games tracksuit top, and I said, you can have drinks out on this now, but otherwise I wouldn't have that medal. So thank you, Mr. Housing Association man from Middlesbrough.
Well, I think that is all we've got time for tonight, I'm afraid. Yeah, please do join me in thanking Mark Foster. Thank you.